Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group. Most federal agencies are on target to meet the September 30th Zero Trust deadline. And the National Labor Relations Board scores a $23 million TMF investment. It's Friday, September 6th, 2024. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. Here are today's top headlines. The federal government is closing in on total zero trust implementation across agencies as the September 30th deadline to do so approaches quickly. During a panel at the Billington Cybersecurity Summit in Washington, D.C. this week, federal CIO Clare Martorana announced that the 24 Chief Financial Officers Act agencies are all in the high 90% range for implementing the basic elements of a zero trust architecture, which they are required to do by the end of the fiscal year. Additionally, Martorana said that the metrics have shown broadly that federal entities have moved from 81% to 87% in completion rates. Martorana said, quote, "For every agency, it's a journey, not a destination. You don't get to a place called Zero Trust and it's unicorns and rainbows. It is a journey that we have to be on, and that also requires consistent funding." The federal CIO pointed to the Technology Modernization Fund as a way that agencies have been able to fund cybersecurity initiatives. Martorana said that 83% of TMF investments went to cybersecurity, helping agencies get on the path to zero trust. Martorana said that 3 agencies led in using these investments for zero trust implementation and came out the other end with lessons learned and ready to share. One of those agencies, she said, was really dealing with an extraordinary burden of a lot of legacy IT. On Thursday at the Billington Summit, General Services Administration CIO David Shive said his agency was one of those that received TMF funding for zero trust. And while Martorana didn't name the agencies on Wednesday, Shive said he could say that GSA was one of those. In other news, speaking of the TMF, the National Labor Relations Board is the latest beneficiary of the Technology Modernization Fund, receiving $23 million from the fund to modernize its case management system. The investment will help the NLRB replace its outdated system with a newer cloud-based solution, dramatically improving the agency's ability to protect workers' rights and process labor disputes efficiently, according to an announcement Thursday from the General Services Administration, which oversees the TMF program. Larry Bafundo, TMF Executive Director within GSA, explained that, quote, "This investment in the NLRB's technological capabilities represents our commitment to making government digital services more efficient and effective for workers and the general public, and that by providing the tools for faster case processing and improved data management, we are empowering the NLRB to better serve the American workforce and uphold the principles of fair labor practices." Responsible for overseeing and enforcing labor law, the NLRB uses its case management system to manage its workload of collective bargaining and unfair labor practice cases. In 2023, the agency processed more than 22,000 cases and recovered more than $56 million for workers through the system, according to GSA. Despite that, the system is 17 years old and has created mounting issues for the agency's operations, including delays in case processing, reduced data reliability, and increased cybersecurity risks. With the funding, the NLRB wants to prioritize enhanced e-filing capabilities, and the agency hopes the modernization effort will also provide better data analytics and scalability for the system. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back next week with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.